They called it a hobby for losers, but today, that hobby makes more in a week than their salaries combined. When I handed in my resignation letter, my manager actually laughed and said, "Good luck selling candles on Instagram, Leah." My coworkers giggled behind their coffee mugs like it was the punchline of some office joke. What they didn't know was, I had just closed my third six-figure brand deal. Before we go further, if you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or laughed at for dreaming big, hit subscribe, share this, and stick around till the end, because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's profitable. 2 years ago, I was the quiet one in the back office of a marketing agency in Austin. No social life, no weekend plans, just spreadsheets and overnights. My ideas? Stolen. My hard work? Ignored. And every time I pitched a campaign, they gave credit to Derek, the guy who once asked me what SEO even meant. But I didn't fight back. I observed. I learned. And at night, I built. I started a small handmade candle shop from my tiny one-bedroom apartment. I used leftover jars, old labels, and DIY YouTube tutorials. My hands were constantly burnt, and my bank account barely survived, but I had something none of them did: vision. At work, they joked about my side hustle, called it Leah's Little Craft Club. Someone even stuck a sticker on my monitor that said, CEO of Nothing. I didn't react. I just smiled and used their mockery as fuel. Then came the company Christmas party. The same night, my Shopify store crossed $100,000 in total sales. While they danced under cheap disco lights, I stepped outside to take a call with a buyer from a luxury hotel chain. They wanted 5,000 custom candles. That night, I made a promise to myself. By next Christmas, I'll be the one they read about, not the one they ignore. And just when I thought things couldn't get more surreal, my boss, the same one who mocked me for using lunch breaks to answer supplier calls, pulled me aside and asked if I could help with his wife's Etsy store. I just smiled and said, "Sorry, I'm a little busy running a company." But what happened during my resignation meeting? That's when the real twist started, and they weren't ready for it. The conference room went dead silent when I slid the resignation letter across the table. Derek actually spit out his coffee. My boss, Mr. Halford, smirked and leaned back like he was watching a toddler throw a tantrum. "You're really walking away from a stable job? To make candles?" He scoffed, loud enough for the others to hear. "Well, best of luck, Leah. Maybe Target will pick you up someday." The room erupted in quiet laughter. But I didn't flinch. I had come prepared. I reached into my tote bag and pulled out a sleek, matte black folder. Inside, my feature in Women's Business Weekly, screenshots of my six-figure Shopify dashboard, and a signed partnership letter with one of the biggest boutique hotel chains on the West Coast. I placed it all on the table, right in front of him. His smirk faded instantly. "You see," I said calmly, "I'm not walking away from stability. I'm walking away from limitation." Mr. Halford blinked, scanning the documents. Derek leaned in like he was reading a spoiler to a movie he hadn't seen. "Is this real?" he muttered. "That's just this quarter," I replied. "Next quarter, we launch internationally." The room shifted. The air felt heavy. For once, I had all their attention, not because they wanted to mock me, but because they finally feared what I had built without them. The room shifted. The air felt heavy. For once, I had all their attention, not because they wanted to mock me, but because they finally feared what I had built without them. Later that day, word spread through the office like wildfire. Suddenly, people who never bothered to remember my name were DMing me for coffee meetups. Even Olivia, the girl who once laughed at my soy wax disasters, asked if I could mentor her in the e-commerce space. But I wasn't interested in being their guide. I had already wasted too many years under fluorescent lights and fake compliments. I walked out of that office not just jobless, but free. What they didn't know was I hadn't just quit my job. I had bought the building next door. And guess who needed to renew their lease in 3 months? Yup, the agency. But before I made my next move, someone unexpected called me that night. Someone who once told me I'd never make it. And what he said changed everything. It was my dad. I hadn't heard from him in over a year. Not since that brutal family dinner where he publicly told me, "You should find a man who can take care of you, Leah. This business fantasy of yours isn't real life." But now, at 10:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with his name. I stared at it for a second, heart pounding. Curiosity won. "Leah," he said, without even a hello. "I heard you quit your job. Is it true?" I paused. "Yeah. Why?" There was a long silence on the other end. Then he cleared his throat, almost like it pained him to say the next part. "Your mother and we're going through some financial trouble. The house is on the line. I was wondering if you'd consider, maybe, helping out with the mortgage, just for a while. I know you've done well." I almost laughed. The man who mocked my dream now wanted help from the same dream he crushed. It wasn't just him. In the next 48 hours, I got 3 more calls. My cousin Nate, who once said I wasted a business degree on soap, asked if I'd consider investing in his gym. My Aunt Melanie wanted me to sponsor her daughter's boutique wedding. Even Derek texted me a casual, "Hey, any chance your company's hiring?" Suddenly, I was everyone's golden ticket. But I hadn't forgotten the humiliation, the years of being the family disappointment, the whispered jokes, the backhanded comments at every Thanksgiving, and how none of them showed up for my first candle fair. I was no longer the quiet one in the corner. I had leverage now, and a plan. Step 1. I contacted a commercial real estate lawyer. I wanted first rights on the building next to my old job the moment their lease expired. Step 2. I made a silent donation to my sister's nonprofit under a different name, just to show her what real generosity looked like. Step 3. I set up a private invite-only event, a soft launch for my new candle flagship store, backed by a 7-figure angel investment. Invites went out to family, old coworkers, and Mr. Halford himself. The invitation read, "You're invited to celebrate the launch of Emberglow, founded by Leah Harper." And when they walked in, they had no idea what was waiting behind those luxury display shelves, because I hadn't just built a candle company, I had built their downfall. But there was one more twist I hadn't revealed yet, and it would hit harder than anything they'd seen so far. They walked in smiling, pretending they had always believed in me. Mr. Halford wore a fake grin so wide it practically cracked his face. "Leah, wow, this place is impressive." He said it like it hurt his throat. Derek trailed behind him, staring at the shelves like he'd seen a ghost. And my dad? He walked in last, shoulders stiff, his eyes scanning the champagne glasses, the velvet displays, the crowd of investors whispering my name like I was royalty. But I wasn't here for revenge in words. I had prepared a presentation. 5 minutes into the event, I stood center stage, spotlight overhead. The massive LED screen behind me flashed photos of my journey, burned hands, my tiny apartment stacked with boxes, rejection emails, candle making at 2 a.m. Gasps floated across the room as the audience realized the depth of what I'd survived. Then came the twist. The screen lit up with a blueprint, a digital floor plan. "This," I said into the mic, "is the future headquarters of Emberglow. We'll be moving next door within the year." People clapped. Mr. Halford tried to join in, until I clicked to the next slide. "This," I continued, "is the same building where I was once told I wasn't leadership material, where I was called emotional, too soft, and not CEO type. And now," I turned toward him, locking eyes. Now I own it. The crowd froze, then erupted. Mr. Halford turned red. Derek looked like he might pass out. And my father? He stepped outside quietly, unable to meet my eyes. But I wasn't finished. I announced a hiring initiative, Emberglow Rising, designed to hire women who had been overlooked, underpaid, or mocked in male-dominated industries. And the first 5 hires? Former interns from the agency who messaged me secretly over the years, saying how I had inspired them. I hired them all, paid double. The next morning, I got an email from my old agency. Their lease was ending. They needed to renegotiate, fast. I forwarded the email to my lawyer with one line: triple the rent or vacate. But just as I thought the dust had settled, I received a letter in the mail from someone I never expected. And what it said? It would change everything. The envelope was cream-colored, elegant, too polished for junk mail. No return address, just my name written in cursive. Inside was a handwritten letter from Mrs. Whitmore, the founder of one of the biggest luxury lifestyle chains in the country. She'd seen my event photos on LinkedIn, heard about Emberglow through a boutique supplier, and ended her note with one line that nearly made me drop the letter. We'd like to place a national order for 1.2 million units. I stood frozen in my kitchen, the weight of that number crashing down like a tidal wave. A few years ago, I couldn't even afford groceries. Now, I was looking at a deal that would put Emberglow in every elite resort and spa across the US. But that wasn't even the biggest win. 3 weeks later, I hosted a private press event. Press from Forbes, Elle, and even CNBC showed up. My parents? They watched it live. My father, who once told me to be realistic, sent a text afterward. I was wrong. I'm proud of you. I didn't reply. Not out of anger, but peace, because I finally understood something. I didn't build Emberglow to prove them wrong. I built it because I believed in myself when no one else did. Mr. Halford's agency moved out 2 months later. I turned their old office into Emberglow's creative lounge, with a wall that reads, "Here lies every doubt they had." Now I speak at business schools. I mentor women with broken confidence. I walk into rooms where people whisper my name for the right reasons. Leah Harper, once the girl mocked for making candles, is now the face of a multi-million-dollar empire. And every time someone laughs at a silly little dream, I just smile. Because I know exactly how it ends. The underestimated always hit the hardest, when no one sees them coming.